Hey guys, Rex here. This is a European-made, honest-to-God, duty-ready sniper rifle setup. Premium, made in Austria. This is called the Scharfschützengewehr 08, the SSG08A1, actually. Made by Steyr in Austria. We have a German-made Steyr M7XI that's worth more than my pickup trailer. We have heavy-duty bipod. We have all the stuff. This is a tier 1 mount from England. The best quality a guy can really find in a serious long-range precision rifle, okay? This rifle costs over $10,000, easy, more like 13 to 15 grand with all the stuff on it. It shoots very well. I've had this for a while. This is a highly affordable American-made target rifle built on a Savage Axis action of all things. Extremely affordable. We have an Outlier match grade barrel, which is, I think, for the blanks under $100. We have the chassis that you can custom configurize to whatever you're doing. This is configured similar to the Steyr. This costs, even with the optic, we have the EP5 7 to 35 optic on here. Even with all the stuff attached, is well under the $2,000 mark, okay? With the rifle by itself, you can get them pretty darn affordable. Which one of these two systems do you think is going to shoot better? Which one has better precision? And which one do you need? Well, that depends on your use. How much do you really need to spend on a precision rifle to get something that shoots consistently well? Do you need to spend tens of thousands of dollars to get a premium system? What's the most efficient way to get the job done? How do we define consistent precision performance? Why are some systems so much more expensive than others that shoot just as well or better? Where does all the extra money really go? What are the true parameters that we need to take into consideration in our precision rifle selection? In this review, we're going to compare and contrast two different paths to achieving this goal. Now, comparing weapons specifically built to be won by government contracts for military applications is quite a bit different than the commercial civilian markets and their target shooting applications and hunting. So let's talk a little bit about the market pressure behind like the military and the market pressure behind the civilian base, just to get a general idea of where we're at and how much money and development went into these different systems. If you want an effective long-range precision platform, you can either go the military route and go for a premium sniper rifle, or you can go the commercial route and get a civilian custom rifle that you can configure to your needs and specifications. The first path we're going to talk about is the free market competition pressure that exists, especially here in the United States. That's a pretty big pressure. The second one is going to be the military research and development, testing and evaluation process. So the free market competition pressure in the United States is huge. The United States free market demands for affordable and effective firearms and peripheral equipment has been an incredibly powerful force in the ebbs and flow of weapons development in the world. Just the economic impact of 2024 alone of the sporting arms and ammunition industry in the United States has exceeded $90 billion. That's a lot of market pressure. The guns and ammunition manufacturing industry in the United States was valued at $17.1 billion in 2023. The center fire rifle market in the United States is large and growing, with the center fire segment of the small caliber ammunition market accounting for the largest revenue share in 2023. By contrast, the U.S. military's annual spending portion on research and development, testing and evaluation for all weapons and equipment was around $122 billion over the same time frame. And that includes all weapons. Of course, the military budget for RDT&E of a precision rifle is much, much less than that total number. The procurement summary, according to the president's budget highlighting, lists a total request of $328 million for weapons and other combat vehicles in fiscal year 25. The precision sniper rifle request specifically was only $5 million for the fiscal year of 2023. Now, to be fair, there's been major projects in recent years, like the MRAD project by Barrett, where they did spend around $60 million. Of course, there are multitudes of other factors in interrelations between the private sector and the DoD that makes a simple or direct comparison very difficult to draw. All this being said, there's no doubt that the private sector's market pressure and advancement of precision centerfire rifles is a force equal to or greater than that of the United States military. However, market pressure and dollars spent are not the final determinators of quality, efficiency, or effectiveness without fully defining the use first. What is the manufacturer of the idea to make any given system in the first place? The civilian rifle market demands rifles and peripheral equipment systems are affordable enough for the working man to be able to obtain without sacrificing his marriage. They want to spend as least as possible to get the job done. So what then is exactly that job? Civilians use centerfire rifles for a variety of purposes, but they usually include hunting, home defense, target shooting, and recreation. Let's talk about the use for hunters specifically. Hunters need enough reliability and accuracy to take a variety of game from large to small in a variety of meteorological and environmental conditions. They need to get this job done while retaining enough portability to be able to field their weapons. These pressures have pushed the markets towards simple and accurate enough systems to work reliably for at least a few serious weeks per year when the hunting seasons do come around. If you talk about the use of target shooters and recreation shooters, for example, typically they use precision centerfire rifles for either bench rest target shooting or tactical style competition, whether amongst family or friends or in professional circles. The market pressure favoring precision and handling performance over portability and field use has pushed the development of precision barrels, precision chassis systems, precision optics suitable to compete against other shooters using other systems. Target shooters need their systems to remain affordable enough to be privately acquired while still offering enough of a performance value to justify their purchase, which may be used semi-regularly, usually on flat range conditions through at least, the fair weather portions of the year. Sometimes some target shooting sports will go out there when it's really nasty as well, like in the wintertime. This target shooter market has long favored affordable precision as its top priority. When you talk about military and police precision rifle systems and their use, their systems demand reliable and consistent performance within strictly defined standards to be used in life and death situations with the highest demands for ruggedness and reliability during heavy and continuous field use, particularly with the military. Logistically, the military must account for service life, maintenance, and sustainability of any system for years to come. This puts a different pressure on weapons development than on the civilian market. Match grade accuracy, for example, will only be helpful if it can be sustained for the entire service life of that rifle or that weapon. This puts ruggedness and consistency of performance at the top of military priorities. So our test was conducted to answer the following question. How much do you need to spend to get a rifle with consistent precision? The test was not designed to prove that one rifle is better than the other, as that would be impossible to answer without laying out all of the needs given your context. This test was designed to be relevant to the typical civilian precision shooter looking for a rifle that shoots consistently well with enough precision performance to be a formidable long-range platform for sporting or competition applications. So the methods and materials is very important. So we designated a control and a variable rifle system on each end of the price spectrum to determine if reliable precision performance could be attained for a fraction of the cost of the more expensive system. The test was set up to determine how the variable rifle, the budget rifle system, would perform compared to the control of a proven and verified military precision performance standard. So our control was the Steyr Scharfschützengewehr 08A1, the SSG08A1. Sniper and marksman rifles from Steyr Arms are worldwide known for their outstanding accuracy and reliability. Steyr has set the standards for sniper rifles for decades. In short, the Steyr SSG is one of the most proven sniper rifles in the world, and its performance has been corroborated by more people than I could afford to round up. So that's why we're designating that as the control. It's the most well-defined performance standard that I can think of. For those unfamiliar with the Steyr SSG, Scharfschützengewehr 08, or Sharpshooter Rifle of 2008, it's an Austrian bolt-action sniper rifle developed and produced by Steyr Mannlicher. This particular variation is a high-precision, high-performance rifle designed to meet the rigid specifications of one of Europe's elite anti-terrorism units. It's been deployed all over the world for a long time. It has an aluminum black chassis. It's a long-range precision target shooting tactical style rifle. It's a bolt-action repeater. Available cartridges is 308 Winchester, 300 Win Mag, 338 Lapua Mag. Ours was a 308. Magazine capacity with the 308 is 10 rounds with a detachable two-stage magazine, two different stages, single feed mode and regular feed. The barrel is a cold hammer forged heavy match grade barrel with recoil reducing muzzle brake. Steyr actually spearheaded and kind of developed the cold hammer forging process in the world. I think they have one of the oldest factories in the world that does that. So they really do a good job with their cold hammer forging. We have a Picatinny rail for optical sights. We have a 3-position tang mounted safety. The finish is a Manox to prevent wear and corrosion of outer metal parts. A huge amount of engineering went into just the finish. The stock is an Eloxyl coated aircraft aluminum folding stock with adjustable monopod and cheek piece. It has a polymer interchangeable rubber pistol grip and has an extremely well-designed rear end with all sorts of adjustability. For your cheek piece, you can tilt the butt pad, you can adjust length of pull. Everything locks down tight. The folder is extremely solid. The bipod is very rugged design. It's a very, very well put together rugged platform that is going to be a very good control group for our test to see how well this other rifle is going to shoot given our test parameters. Our variable rifle consists of a custom rifle built to achieve as many features and as much modern modularity as possible with top-notch precision capability for the lowest dollar amount possible. We wanted a system that would be easy enough and affordable enough for the viewer to replicate or even duplicate identically, so they could achieve a reliable performer good enough to get the job done on a reasonable budget. And so we opted for the Outlier barrel with chassis system on a Savage Axis action with an Arken EP5 scope. So we got a Savage Axis action. Those are like a couple $100 if you find one where they just sell the action. You can get the entire setup for maybe, in the below 500 for sure. We put on an Outlier USA Precision barrel, and we put it into an Outlier chassis system. The details on the Outlier Precision barrel, I'll read those for you. It's made in the United States of America, 416 stainless steel. It's 5R button rifled, CNC machine hand lapped, and with a 5/8 by 24 muzzle thread. We also did have the barrel equipped with a Ry0 timed muzzle brake. Very easy to get timed on there. You just tighten the screw on the bottom. It has 30-degree baffles to reduce muzzle flip by, they say, 90%. They also produce barrels in 6mm, 6.5mm, 7mm, and 7.62. They have a variety of different options, including a huge amount of different actions that they're compatible to all across the board. I'll show a picture here of all the different actions it's compatible with. And you can get, you can have either a barrel blank done for like $69 or something like that. But you can get it all pre-fit and chambered and everything ready to go as well for pretty darn affordable for a precision grade barrel. These barrels are very heavy. They either have the 1.2-inch bull barrel that you can contour yourself or just leave as a bull barrel, or the MTU Contour. And the chassis was the Outlier Modular Chassis, or MC. The weight of the chassis alone is 1.06 pounds. The Outlier's chassis is made to allow you to perfectly tailor a rifle setup to your shooting style and discipline. Very, very, very modular. Everything's made in the United States of America. Extensive action compatibility. It integrates with a huge amount of different kinds of actions. I'll put that up here on the screen for you. The one I got was for the Savage Axis. It'll work with Rugers and Remingtons and Bergaras and all kinds of stuff. But I'll also share the list below. And the whole thing is made out of 6061 T6 aluminum, pretty much the industry standard for anything made out of aluminum in the firearms industry. The chassis is extremely customizable. There's a whole bunch of different varieties of rear ends you can put on. Heavyweight target shooting rear ends. I have a lightweight one on the rifle behind me here. This is their lightweight configuration they have on a carbon fiber barrel. They also have a nice rail system that has integral Swiss Arca rail and M-Lock in rails, and they have 3 different lengths. I'll share all the details again below. You can custom tailor it to whatever your shooting style is. There's a lot of modularity in this. You just custom configure it the way you want it when you get the chassis as a kit, and they'll just kind of send you all the parts. You put it together, and it went together fine. So you're totally able to balance between your stability and accessory options. If you got to prioritize your maneuverability, or if you want to prioritize rifle weight for target shooting, you can totally set this thing up however you want. And it's pretty gosh darn affordable. So the rifle, once you get it all put together, is just above $1,000 with the chassis, the custom barrel, and the action, when you get the action too. So if you got a Savage Axis action, you get a barrel for a couple $100, the chassis is a few $100. You can get together a real affordable platform. The optics we used for this review on the Steyr, we used the Steiner, which is a 4 to 28 power, 34 millimeter Bane tube, 56 millimeter objective lens optic. Very, very, very well-respected optic. They are commonly employed on the Steyrs. It's a good mate. I use a tier 1 scope base. I think it's the Monomount, the tier 1 out of England. So everything on this rifle is primo European manufacturing, like the very finest quality in the world that you can get. This is a primo sniper rifle. The price tag on the Steyr with the scope and the mounts, everything, just the rifle itself, not including ammunition, but what we see in the test, the rifle, the mount, and the optic is over $13,000. Depending on exactly where you get your components, it could be very well over $15,000. So it's a $15,000 sniper rifle, primo European setup. How is it going to compare to the Outlier, which is only a little bit above $1,000? And when you put the optic on it and get the mounts, after all is said and done, I think the Outlier with the Arken EP5 34 millimeter, 56 millimeter objective lens scope that we've reviewed lately, you can I'll share links to the other reviews below, but it's below $2,000. So $13,000 plus versus $1,900 some between these two different systems. One's way, way more affordable than the other. You could buy 6 rifles with a significant amount of change in the Outlier configuration for every one Steyr. Okay. Now there are reasons why the Steyr is much more expensive. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there's no doubt that the Outlier is much more affordable. They are configured approximately the same. The Steyr weighed 17.98 pounds. The total weight of the Outlier system with optic was 19.61 pounds, just a little bit more than the Steyr. So the Outlier chassis weight is 1.06 pounds. The 15-inch, that's the longer handrail, that's the more heavy one, 9.2 ounces. And I opted to use the heavy stock for this review because this is a target rifle configuration, 38 ounces. So pretty heavy. Now you can get the lightweight one and trim off a huge amount of weight and use the shorter hand guards as well. Right, we're using identical ammunition for the test. We're using Outlier ammunition, the same exact lot and box. We grabbed all the ammunition from the same exact box. So there's identical ammunition. The Outlier ammunition we're using utilizes Starline brass, which is made in Missouri. Actually really good quality brass, as you'll see in a minute. It shoots very well if you load it right. We are shooting 175 grain Sierra Match Kings. Velocity is going to be around 2660 feet per second with our 24-inch barrel. The primers are White River Energetics large rifle primers made in Prairie County, Arkansas. So that's cool. American primers. That's a new, I don't know if you guys have heard of them, but the ammo shoots really well. So apparently the primers work good enough. You'll see in a minute. The powder is OEM proprietary blend of powder. They use a very, very temperature stable powder, the most temperature stable powder they could find. So you guys know that the biggest variable in conducting a test of this sort is always the shooter. As experienced as I am subject to the same forces of entropy as anyone else. We all have our good days and our bad days. We all have slightly different ways of managing a system and utilizing a shooting position. We have different environments and susceptibilities and preferences when it comes to shooting for a group. We have differing methodologies and approaches to conducting our experiments and evaluations. We also have different expectations and pressures that can bias the outcome one way or the other, okay? So anytime we do any kind of scientific experiment, it's good for us to have a conflict of interest statement and fully spell out all the different possible pressures that could put gravity on our experiment. All that being said, 2 shooters is better than 1 when you're testing something, especially if that other shooter brings a complementary level of experience to the table. So to mitigate any potential shenanigans or slanted reports, suspicions, or potential allegations ahead of time, 2 or more reliable witnesses are required. So I drove to Montana to visit one of my mentors, Brother Saw from Survival Applications Weapon Systems, salty old grandpa soldier, old soldier, and to provide analytical objectivity and a second opinion from a sound professional with technical evaluation experience during this process. I thought it would be best to go and meet up with Brother Saw. He is not going to make anything up. He's going to be 100% analytically objective because he's trained to do that. So I traveled to the high mountains to visit Saw. Saw has over 30 years experience intersecting firearms and war fighting, professionally serving in many lanes, both in and associated with Special Operations Forces, SOF community, such as an armorer. He was in the 75th Rangers. He's a U.S. Army Special Forces sniper. He was a contractor. He had GS level jobs for a while, all sorts of stuff. You can, if you have any questions about Saw's bona fides, you can go visit him on his channel. I would say that his pedigree and bona fides within his lanes of experience are top shelf and without match of anyone in the world to really provide this level of technical expertise regarding overall performance of a weapon system and how it performs out of the box and where it should fit in with the mess of other rifles. This is the most efficient way I can corroborate the results. With his intuition and experience, he'll be able to make a quick determination of if the rifle shoots or not, okay? So we went to visit Brother Saw. Saw provides complete neutrality as he has no formal or informal relationship with either Steyr or Outlier. He does not own equipment from either company, nor does he have any conflict of interest with any company being featured in this test. His observations are tempered by solidified established experience. Saw's approach to testing was not micromanaged or influenced in any outside way, being asked to test to see if the custom rifle could perform to a similar precision level as the control rifle using the bipod from a field expedient prone position. That's all really I asked him to do. See, does this rifle keep up with the Steyr from a prone position using the bipod? You tell me. And we just let him do his thing. This was not a test attempting to achieve bench rest results, but rather trying to discern the system's effectiveness as they were designed to be deployed prone in the field. Thus, both rifles were tested on the same uniform flat wood surface from the same position, having the bipod preloaded against sandbags utilizing a sniper sock toe rest for rear support. Round counts and methods were up to the shooter's discretion to make his best determination based on his experience to determine the matter of fact to answer the question. So here's my conflict of interest statement. I have relationships with both Steyr and Outlier. I have attended the Steyr Academy. I've been trained by their top teacher, Eduardo Fontcuberto. I've worked with Eduardo from Steyr, and he works with a lot of different outfits in our RX 3000 ELR courses. I very much respect him. He's a good friend of mine, so I have contact at Steyr. I have bought a rifle from Steyr, that SSG08A1. I bought with my money after testing it. Very, very nice rifle, okay? So the other conflict of interest that needs to come out on the table, anytime you do a scientific experiment, you have to put this in the abstract. I also have a relationship with Michael Benedict and Mike Riley from Outlier. They're the same guys that have done the Arken optics, and so the same philosophy and approach to business of trying to get the most affordable stuff possible that works really good is kind of their philosophy. And I know both those guys, and of course, you guys know that I always provide the links for you. And of course, I make a commission on links if you guys want to buy anything. But all that being said, I have a long-standing reputation of being honest. And in my observations, whether they serve me or not, my methods and materials have been sound and provide accurate quantitative results. Everything's a number. It's not like an opinion. It's not like my emotion. My feelings do not matter when it comes to testing. So I try to provide what's actually going on. That's why you guys are here, and that's why I appreciate you staying here for such a long time. But it is important when we're doing a review like this, where there's such high stakes for everybody involved, to put out on the table like your conflict of interest statement. If you've ever read any kind of engineering papers or science reading and writing from professionals and journals, they always put that up front, okay? So yes, I have relationships with both companies. I'm legitimately curious to see how well it shoots. And so those are my motives. My primary motive is determining which one is going to shoot better to help you guys. My secondary motives are on the table for you. I want to do both companies justice because they're both excellent at what they do. My testing process was to take each rifle to my surveyed 100-yard bench, remove the bipod to eliminate any artificial support system idiosyncrasies, and to fire one full magazine of consecutive 10 rounds apiece from each rifle from a sandbag position. With a steady sandbag position, I was able to get 10 well-aimed shots per rifle. Each optic was indexed to 16 power magnification, and the parallax set to 100 yards. The ammunition for both tests was identical from the same box. Previous to the test, both rifles and the ammunition were stored side by side at 30 degrees Fahrenheit and would experience a full warm-up over the 10-round course of fire back-to-back in the same lighting and atmospheric conditions. My results consisted of my first 10-round group from each rifle with no tricks and no edits. My first 10 rounds on a cold rifle from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Doesn't matter what happens if I like it or don't. That first group is documented, and that's the test result. This is the most honest and effective way to demonstrably ascertain and document the rifle's overall precision performance without any edits or bullshit. These methods were developed to offer the most transparent documentation, as well as to offer simply designed methods and materials for other shooters to duplicate this test at their own ranges. All marksmanship rules do apply, gentlemen. You have to be a marksman to get any kind of good test of this sort. So one flyer throws off the entire group, okay? So totally fair. We're doing exactly the same with both rifles, same position, back-to-back test, 10 shots apiece. Let's see which one shoots better. This gives us an idea of the true precision potential of each system from cold to hot over a 10-shot course of fire with no trickery and easy ability to document and vet and verify that we're not joshing on the test. Results. So here are the results. Real deal there. Ooh. Gears on? Yes, sir. We got it zeroed. So that's your first 3 shots after we kind of dialed it in, right?
Yeah, and you can see the back that's not punched.
And we had the sun pop out. Yep.
Yep. And so I called that last one that was off.
Okay.
So
Which one was the off one?
the top one.
Oh, geez. Terrible.
Yeah.
So that's fingernail size.
So that cheap gun will shoot. Like, it'll shoot. I knew it will shoot. I just had to get my ergonomics with it by modifying it my way for my body. But once settled in, totally doable. Now it's hopefully I could shoot the $14,000 rifle as good. So, right.
Saw did the initial shooting of both systems. He established and confirmed a 0 first to warm up, and then he went and did his first group to see how the rifle would shoot. Saw's Outlier performance: he shot a group at 100 yards from a prone position with a bipod. His group size was 0.242 inches at 100 yards after zeroing. First group in that rifle after 3 or 4 rounds zeroing. Quarter minute of angle. Virgin barrel. Fresh rifle. Pretty good. Okay.
Dial in on this one.
For Saw, he was able to get the Steyr to shoot consistently at 0.837 inches at 100 yards, sub-minute of angle. So a 0.8 inch group at 100 yards, which is actually pretty good. For a sniper rifle, is it match grade F-class precision? No, because it's a sniper rifle. But that performance with Steyr is very typical. They're very consistent, and they're not really fussy with ammo or conditions or anything like that. Doesn't really matter the conditions. They'll always shoot that good or a little bit better, typically, okay, depending on the shooter and the exact position. So pretty much typical with what has been established for that control for decades before, going way back with the Steyr hammer forged barrels. So here's the results for my shooting that I did. Can't feel my fingers. The Outlier shot a 10-shot group, my first group, from cold rifle to warming it up for the first time, 0.838 inches at 100 yards for 10 shots. There was no warming up with the rifle. I didn't try the trigger. I just got behind it, aimed it, and did a 10-shot group. That was my virgin experience with that rifle. No practicing, no dry fire, none of that. I just took the rifle, put ammo in it, and shot it for the first time after Brother Saw zeroed it at the Montana test. 0.838 inches with 10 shots. The Steyr, my first 10-shot group there was 1.062 inches. We did see a little bit of temperature shifting as we shot. That can happen with a cold hammer forged barrel a little bit, but it stayed within its general performance parameters. The conditions were not perfect. When I was shooting, it was windy and cold. So the average precision performance between both Saw and myself were as follows. Between both shooters, the Steyr SSG08A1 control rifle shot an average of 0.95 inches at 100 yards, which is on par comparable to how they are known to shoot over a long course of fire. Of course, you can get smaller groups. Smaller groups are possible given perfect conditions, but this was the true average of the system given our conditions and testing methods. Between both shooters, the Outlier test rifle shot an average of 0.54. So if you average out Saw and my shooting on that particular system, but we both got it between us 0.54 inches, which is well under their 1 minute of angle guarantee provided by Outlier barrels. So Outlier barrels, they're barrels which cost under $100 for a barrel blank. Very affordable. They're well under a minute of angle between the both of us, and that's not ideal bench rest conditions. I was shooting from the bench, but it was not ideal conditions at all. It was icy cold. All right, let's talk about the optics. The Steyr M7XI and the Arken EP5 both have the same tube diameter and objective diameter. They both worked comparatively well optically in low light conditions. When we were in the mountains, the sun was getting very low. It was kind of low light in the forest, in the trees. It was starting to get kind of hard to see the exact aiming point, particularly on the MSR2 reticle. In the Steyr M7, it was a little hard to kind of see exactly where a guy was aiming. The Arken Saw didn't mention any problem seeing through that. I do know that Brother Saw did mention that he really preferred the Arken turret, actually, over the Steyr M7, and said that Steyr does have very fine adjustments, very fine clicks. When your hands are cold and when you're uncomfortable and when you're hurting and when you're trying to be in a hurry and make adjustments, sometimes those really tiny tactile clicks that are the fine ones on the Steyr are a bit harder to discern and count than on like the more robust EP5. And if you've never handled one of those Arken EP5s, you need to find someone that has one and take a look at it, or even the SH4s. I mean, they're very robust, and I think they're more rugged than the Steyr. I know that the precision on them is dead on balls accurate too. You can't get better than 100% tracking precision, right? So I have full reviews on both of those optics. I have a full review on the Steyr M7, and I have a full review on the EP5. Both great optics. Of course, the Arken is like a fraction the cost of the $3,700 or $4,000 Steyr scope. The Arken's only, you can get it for $600 or something? And you get practically they both, the Arken kept up with the Steyr just fine. Even in low light conditions, it actually was a little easier to see the reticle. So for whatever it's worth, that was what happened, at least with us. That was not even my opinion. That's Brother Saw's observations. And for the discerning spender, an Arken will suit you just fine. So in short, the Arken held its own side by side with the much more expensive and extremely well-respected Steyr M7XI. Conclusions. If precision performance is actually the primary objective, you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars for an elite military grade rifle. You don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on elite military grade equipment if you just need to shoot. If you want to do long range precision shooting, you got to understand that money is going for a lot of other things. For most practical civilian applications, a super affordable custom build on a proven mass-produced budget action like the Savage Axis from the right company can work just fine. There's no doubt that the Steyr is incredibly rugged and reliable in all conditions, ready for the nonstop abuse of soldiers in adverse environments. That's for sure. You can't really, they're apples and oranges. The Steyr's, by the way, the Steyr's cold hammer forged barrel making process is magical when it comes to the barrel longevity. A barrel like on a 7.62 millimeter, like that one there on the SSG08, those barrels will last over 20,000 rounds. Some can last, it depends on all the different stuff, but like they can last 25, 30,000 rounds before they got to replace them. So there's a reason for the way they design those things. It's not always built towards the priorities that we assume they would have. They need something that's not going to wear out. They need something that's not going to get damaged. So if you figure out the longevity of the system as a whole, of like a Steyr SSG sniper rifle, and you figure out how many hours per dollar do you get out of the life of that service rifle in the hands of privates jumping out of freaking airplanes and helicopters and whatnot with the rifle, trying to break it all the time, nonstop in corrosive, terrible field environment, it justifies the expensive cost if you do the military logistical analysis, if you're going to use it to that degree, because they last like forever. Now, of course, the Savage Axis is totally robust, proven in a multitude of different weather environments with hunters, but it's a civilian target shooting rifle. They're just different rifles. If you need something that's really precise and is still rugged enough to hunt with, I mean, the Savage Axis is a decent hunting action. But you want it to be stupid accurate? Man, that Outlier is pretty gosh darn affordable, man. For $1,900 with everything. That's with the bipod. That's with the bipod adapter. That's with all the stuff on the chassis. That's with the scope mounts. And I use the Primo scope mounts that the Arken has. They're the titanium ones. And then they also have, that's their top of the line optic. You could put a cheaper scope on there. You could put a LH whatever on there and trim off a few $100s and it would perform as well as the EP5. The LH series Arken scope that I just reviewed performed perfect tracking on their cheapest model. Perfect. So if you want something cheaper and lighter, you could totally do it. With the other one, you have a big full mil-grade reticle on there too. So there's many ways to skin the cat. You could get the system trimmed down in price even more if you wanted to go that way. But gosh darn it, you don't need to spend $1 bajillion on a sniper rifle designed to be, to swim under the polar ice cap in the ice water in the salt water environment to get out and fight World War III for the next 10 years and have your rifle never break. That's what the Steyr's made for. That's expensive to execute. If you just need to shoot really accurately to kill stuff in the United States and you're not going to be swimming under the polar ice caps and jumping out of planes, the other rifle's going to work just fine. Okay. So thank you for watching this review. We hope it was helpful. As usual, please see the links for the chassis and the combo kits and all that stuff and the optics. I usually share the links with you. It always helps the channel, helps me maintain the operation. To learn much, much more, invest in your training and subscribe to the Patreon pages below. Brother Saw has a page. I have a page. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel here and like and ring the bell below. Thank you for having my ear. Hopefully this is very, very helpful. All right. Make a long story short, the Outlier shoots pretty much as good as the Steyr. A little better. It's not a sniper rifle, but it shoots a little bit better. Okay, Rex out. So Outlier. First 3 shots after 0.